you've been big on this guy named Kyle Hamilton, and obviously that's a huge defensive need for the Lions, is some more secondary help. But for me, I think the biggest need for this Lions organization moving forward is some defensive pass rush. They've ranked to the bottom of the league in sacks again this year. And I get Trey Flowers has been hurt most of the year, but they've got to do something to really disrupt offenses. You watch Aaron Rodgers, and the Lions did a fairly good job at getting some pressure on him in the last game of the season during that first half. But there comes a point of, just creating pressure and actually getting to the quarterback and bringing him down. And we watch a lot of these teams that compete in the playoffs. They usually have one or two good pass rushers that truly disrupt the game. And for me, that's where I think the biggest need for this team is going into the offseason, and it really needs to be addressed. But I know for you, you're really hell-bent on getting a guy like Kyle Hamilton over maybe a guy like Thibodeau or Hutchinson.
Yeah, it's just more so like I have more faith and belief in a guy like Kyle Hamilton over Hutchinson or Thibodeau. Like Thibodeau, he's coming from the Pac-12, which is like heavily a pass conference, right? He only has like 5 or 6 sacks in the year. Like if you're supposed to be who you are, you know what I'm saying? Like the number 1 overall pick as a pass rusher, like I don't know, man. I feel like your numbers should be a little bit higher than that. Aiden, as much as I love him, one thing I'd say about him is he runs like a 4-3 defensive end. That's not our scheme. We talk about like how we rank in the pass rush and the sacks and stuff like that. I think you have to consider like the injuries we saw this yeyear. One guy that we're paying $14 million a year right now, Romeo Okwara, gone, torn Achilles. Trey Flowers, in and out all season. Like some like remnants of pass rush we did see was in Harris. And he's a free agent. That's to be determined. So like you're not wrong there. I actually do have edge rush as a need on this team. I think Kyle Hamilton out of those two though is more of a sure thing. Where I'm poised with more questions of the other two. I think Kyle Hamilton's like absolute stud.
Do you think they can take Kyle Hamilton at that 2 position though?
I wouldn't be mad. Like honestly, God, I would not be mad. No.
You don't think that would be too high?
No, dude. I like this thing with like draft value is just, like it's literally like a made up thing. I get where it comes from, and it's in terms of like contract and what you have to pay that guy, like what you would pay that guy, a premier edge rusher on the market or premier quarterback on the market. Like that's where like the value comes in. But like truly the value is like the pick that you want, the pick that's gonna produce for you. And I think the guaranteed pick on that for me is Kyle Hamilton. But I really didn't want to talk to players. I kind of want to talk like the positions, like what do you see as like draft needs for this team? Because we have all year, like you said, to talk about like specific players, but like positional wise, like what do you think's the Lions?
So if you're ranking them from top to bottom, I'm going to go. I would do a 1A and 1B with defensive line. You have to address the defensive line a bit more. Probably edge rush. And then 1B would probably be linebacker too. I mean, you got Nakobe Dean sitting there, and I think he definitely raised his draft stock, especially after the national championship game. I'm all for the Lions trading down. Like you said, we'll talk about that at a different time. But that defensive side of the ball, because I think the secondary, we had a lot of those pieces step up and kind of be the surprise of the season, I guess you could say. So, do you get Jeff Okudah back? And I'd like to see him what happens with Aubrey Pleasant here, and hopefully Aaron Glenn's still here and doesn't get a head coaching job selfishly for myself, but if he does, congratulations to him. But I would like to see, that's my biggest thing is with Jeff Okudah this with him having his Achilles injury, is what could have happened with him this offseason? What type of growth could he have had? And to me, I think your cornerbacks are okay. Amani Oruwariye stepped up and was good, but to me, the biggest issue, again, is that defensive side. Now, to address after that, you have to look at the receiver position. Yes, Amon-Ra St. Brown was a great addition. Josh Reynolds, great addition. But are those guys truly number one outside threats? No, not exactly. I don't think so. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown, how we used him, you used him a lot in the slot. You used him out of the backfield. He wasn't really your deep threat guy that can go down the field and catch that football. So for me, that's still a position that needs to be addressed, whether George Pickens is there in the late first round. That's a big guy that can go up and get the ball. We saw that again in the national championship game. Not opposed to that. But a lot of people think QB too is get a QB in here. Like, do you take Sam Howell late in the first round? Do you take Desmond Ridder possibly with your second round pick? I don't know. Like those are kind of my areas of concern. Is number one defensive edge rush? Is it linebacker or is it defensive end, I honestly could go with either one. You could have a versatile linebacker that lines up at the defensive end side and kind of play a split role a little bit. So for me, it goes pass rush, then receiver, then quarterback.
For me, you could interchange this easily because I feel like they're all obviously clearly positions of need. But I put linebacker as my number one. For 2 years, some of the fan base has been like literally begging for this. However, we all know it's like we need it. I mean, you mentioned in your list too, linebackers, and like I'm looking at our list of like free agents that we'll also get into later in the show. But linebacker, we got a lot of them. We don't have anyone back there. It was stitched together throughout the year due to injury. I mean, even Anzalone, who I feel like a lot of us kind of grew to like a little bit. Mm-hmm. He's a free agent now too. Yep. So like I think that's something we definitely need to address. And I'm talking again like throughout the draft. I'm not saying like number 1 or number 2 or anywhere. I'm just saying like, hey, we need to fill this spot. There's a void there. Another position on the list is safety. We have Tracy Walker as a free agent. Charles Harris, who God no, please don't bring him back. I think who's the other guy? I was gonna say Malone. That was not his last name.
For who?
The safety. I know we signed him. He's a veteran. I'll find it. Damn it. But safety's a position of need. It is. Mm-hmm. Unless you're going to re-sign Tracy Walker. To what extent? I don't know. I don't know how much you're going to pay Tracy Walker. But and obviously receiver. The thing with me, receiver, and it's kind of further down my list, is like, look at the Patriots right now. And honestly, like throughout the history, multiple Super Bowls, right? Aside from Randy Moss, which they didn't win a Super Bowl with, have they ever needed like a true like number one like stud receiver to get it done?
Yeah, but at the same time, too, you had Tom Brady there.
You did have Tom Brady, but even then, like, look at the number one receivers in the league right now. Like, all right, actually, good question. Who's the best receiver in the league right now?
Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams is in the playoffs. Devontae Adams, how many Super Bowls?
1.
None. Actually.
Oh yeah, none. Yeah.
No,
right.
it's just not like and you can find those guys late too. You know what I'm saying, like even Josh Reynolds.
He was a second round draft pick.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it's not like a dire need for me. The guys, like, draft one early, get one in the first round. The other thing, too, is, like, if we got a stud like Jamar Chase, I don't think Jared Goff would even be able to, like, utilize him to his true skill. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not throwing deep balls. I'm not trusting Jared Goff to throw deep to that guy. Like, I don't know that we have the offense to even utilize a number one receiver like that. Other position I have on here, before my voice goes, is edge. I have to say that.
Yeah.
And quarterback for the future.
Yeah, and that's you made a very good point. Like, if you're keeping Jared Goff here, you don't need the outside threat. I look at the Rams organization and how they used Jared Goff, how they made the playoffs, and how they made their Super Bowl run. It was made up of a lot of Amon-Ra St. Browns, a lot of slot guys. Robert Woods, not really a deep threat. Cooper Kupp, not really a deep threat. I mean, now you are with Matthew Stafford there a bit more. Van Jefferson, but Josh Reynolds was kind of their down the field guy there when Jared Goff was in LA, and you kind of saw a little bit of that with Detroit this year too. That safety you were thinking was Dean Marlowe, is who the free safety that you were thinking of.
Yes, thank you.
So that's obviously that there's a lot of positions that need to be addressed. I mean, just running down the list of some of the upcoming free agents is Tracy Walker, Charles Harris, Khalif Raymond, Anzalone, Reeves Maben, Nick Williams, Evan Brown, Josh Reynolds, Tim Boyle, Dean Marlowe, Jason Cabinia, and Will Holden. Like, I don't know how many of those names you'd actually want to bring back. And at the same time, too, like, remember, this was still only a 3-win football team. Are those guys crucial to bring back? I don't think anyone's really that crucial to bring back on a 3-win football team. Yeah, like they filled a role that, it was a challenging year, to say the least. But it's going to be an interesting offseason for the Lions, and I wouldn't be surprised. I see the chat, and a lot of the guys in the YouTube chat are saying Jabril Peppers, free agent, bring him in this year from the Giants. Is bring him back to.
Is that a Michigan thing though? Like, are we keeping it real with Jabril? Like, God rhymed, whatever. But how do you feel about Jabril? Like, would you rather have Tracy Walker or Jabril? I feel like Jabril's more of a box safety.
I feel like Jabril and Tracy Walker kind of play a very similar type style of football. Hard hitting. They can make the opening field tackle. Now I would have to do a deep dive into their coverage schemes a little bit more.
Yeah.
Tracy Walker, I do think's better in coverage than maybe Jabril is. But that's still a name out there. Is like, if you're not gonna, I don't think Jabril Peppers is going to be a highly touted free agent that the Lions could maybe definitely go out and get.
Yeah, and I'm with you guys on the pass rush and the edge and stuff like that too. Like I agree. I would love to have edge rusher. Like the team that had most success for me as a Detroit Lions fan was the Detroit Lions when they had Ndamukong Suh and Anza, and they were just terrorizing guys in the backfield. But who's the biggest edge rusher on Tampa Bay when they won the Super Bowl last year?
Suh.
Rusher though, he's not really rushing the quarterback. Like Suh's not gonna get you. Like he's
You
more
mean
for a
like
stop and a
defensive
run.
end or linebacker?
Yeah, like who was terrorizing quarterbacks on Tampa Bay?
Well,
Like,
you had Levante David there.
right? But he's like a linebacker in coverage and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, and then you go back the year before that, you look at the Kansas City Chiefs. Who was their dominant edge rusher? It's kind of hard to like come up with those names, right? But I can name you some safeties. They're like, oh damn, he did make some plays to get there. Antoine Winfield, you know, on the Tampa Bay Bucks last year. You had the Honey Badger on the Chiefs before that. You have Malcolm Jenkins when he was on the Eagles. Devin McCourty's on this list multiple times. T.J. Ward. Like, safeties are important, playmaking safeties. And with Kyle Hamilton, he has the energy to play box and coverage. And we know where he gets that energy? I bet he gets that energy from Centron. Made here in Detroit.